Hey, I'm going to tell you about the different parts of the double bass. So I guess I'll start up here. We have the scroll and what we call the scroll box, or I guess violinists would call it the peg box. And then we have the machine tuners. These are called machine tuners because violins, they have these things called pegs that are like a little piece of wood that goes into the scroll box, whereas these have little mechanisms like a machine. And then of course you have the strings, and the strings attach or wrap around the tuning mechanisms up here. And then you have the nut, and that's actually really important to know, because if I start talking about sizing, or if you're a beginning student and I tell you play in half position, I'm going to say, it's going to be the closest position to the nut. And that's where the strings kind of are raised up just a little bit, and they go into the box. And then this part, of course, is called the fingerboard. It's made of ebony wood, and the back here we call the neck, and it comes down here. This is called the heel. Some people call it the saddle. I really use both of those interchangeably, and it depends on the student, because some have heard either or from their teachers that they've had before me. And then this is the top plate. So this is made of spruce wood, and at least typically a good carved bass, which is like a more higher level instrument, a more ideal instrument to have for at least for classical, and I like it for jazz. It's going to have this usually a spruce top, and then maple ribs here on the sides, and a maple back. If you notice, there's a little bit of a, you might not notice with the camera, but there's like almost like a flame effect, and so we call that flaming. This is called flame maple, is the type of wood that they use for this. And usually when you see this, it's a sign that you have at least a decent instrument on your hands. That doesn't mean that every decent instrument is going to have that. Especially if you have a plywood instrument, it wouldn't have that. But this is, just a standard thing that they do. And then you have the bridge, and these things right here are the bridge adjusters, so I can raise the height of the strings or lower the height of the strings. Sometimes in certain settings it's better to have the strings much higher, especially sometimes playing with the bow, sometimes in certain pizzicato settings, jazz and bluegrass, there are just times where it makes a lot of sense to have the strings high. Other times I like the strings to be low, especially when I'm playing like solo stuff, and also jazz. Sometimes I prefer to play with the strings on a medium-low setting. So that's good to have. And then of course the tailpiece, which is just kind of attaches down here at the bottom and holds the strings in place. And I have a pickup here. This is a David Gage Realist pickup. Fantastic pickup. This is the Lifeline, so it attaches right here next to the adjuster, and that is for amplification. I can plug a guitar cable in and go straight into an amp or a sound system or a DI box if I'm in the studio. And then we have this is just like a bow quiver, and of course I have the bow. so that way I can reach for it while I'm at a gig, especially on a gig where I don't use it a lot, but sometimes I need to go for it quickly. And then on the bottom here, you can probably see that there's this pin that comes out. A lot of people recognize that who've seen a bass before. That's called the end pin, or sometimes we just call it the pin. For those of us who are cool, we call it the pin. And that raises the height of the bass. There are many different philosophies on how low or high that should be, but typically bass players like to have this part, the nut that we talked about, at eye level, so or just above eye level. Some bass players like it a little bit higher. So just kind of depends. So that's there. It can be adjusted depending on the height of the player and the preferences. And yeah, that's about it.